Picture a doctor living in Chicago who makes $380,000 every single year. From the outside looking in, her life seems like an absolute dream. She drives around the city in a brand new leased BMW, and her children attend prestigious private schools. Most weeknights, you won't find her cooking in her kitchen. She's dining out at nice restaurants. Every month, she pays a $4,200 mortgage without missing a single beat. If you looked at her life strictly on paper, you would immediately conclude that she is incredibly wealthy. But there is a hidden reality behind closed doors. If a sudden emergency hit today, she could not come up with $5,000 in cash without either selling off some of her belongings or going deeper into debt. This is not just a hypothetical, made-up scenario. It turns out this doctor is far from alone. According to a 2025 report from Goldman Sachs, a staggering 41% of Americans who earn between $300,000 and $500,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. Even more shocking is that 40% of people earning over $500,000 a year report the exact same financial struggle. Let that sink in. 4 out of every 10 people who make $500,000 annually feel like they have absolutely no financial cushion beneath them. They earn more money in a single month than many hardworking Americans earn in an entire year, yet they experience the exact same crushing financial anxiety. We all tend to carry this underlying assumption that more income automatically solves our financial problems. We tell ourselves that once we hit that magical six-figure mark, our stress will simply vanish. Pass $200,000 and you are set for life. Cross $500,000 and money essentially becomes irrelevant. But the data tells us a completely different story. What we are witnessing is called the high-income poverty trap. It is a vicious cycle where people earn more money, naturally spend more money, save the exact same percentage of nothing, and eventually wake up at 55 years old, wondering where all their wealth went. The harsh truth is that this trap does not care how much money you make. It only cares about how much money you actually keep. According to research from 2025, Americans earning $100,000 a year are actually more likely to report living paycheck to paycheck than those who earn just $50,000. Nearly a quarter of all American households spend more than 95% of their income purely on basic necessities and lifestyle maintenance. You might be thinking these are just people who are terrible at math. They aren't. They are highly educated professionals who fully understand compound interest. They know they should be saving. However, the trap does not operate on arithmetic. It operates entirely on human psychology. When your income increases, your spending tends to increase in direct proportion to it. We call this phenomenon lifestyle inflation. The insidious thing about it is that it happens so gradually that most people never even notice the shift. First, your typical $15 lunch slowly becomes a $25 lunch. Then, the reliable Honda you drove gets traded in for a shiny new BMW. At the time, each individual upgrade feels perfectly reasonable. You earned it, and technically, the math says you can afford the monthly payment. But these lifestyle upgrades start to compound, while your actual savings rate stays completely flat. And human psychology dictates that once a luxury becomes your new routine, trying to downgrade feels like intense deprivation. If we want to understand how to break this trap, we need to look at how actual millionaires live. The classic study from the book The Millionaire Next Door revealed a fascinating secret. Most real millionaires do not look like millionaires at all. They live in very average neighborhoods, happily drive older cars, and rarely feel the need to display their wealth. A 2025 Empower study showed that over 62% of everyday millionaires actively use a budget and purposely avoid extravagant lifestyles, even long after crossing that $1 million threshold. The typical millionaire has rarely ever spent more than $399 on a single article of clothing, and 60% of them live in homes worth less than $500,000. This creates a paradox. The people who actually accumulate real wealth behave absolutely nothing like the people who merely appear to be wealthy. The authors of that study created 2 incredibly useful categories to explain this. They talk about PAWs, or prodigious accumulators of wealth, and UAWs, under-accumulators of wealth. It is entirely possible for a janitor making $50,000 a year to be far more of a PAW than a distinguished doctor making $700,000 a year. Your daily spending habits determine your category, not your gross income. There is a simple formula to check where you stand. Multiply your current age by your pre-tax annual household income, and then divide that number by 10. The resulting number represents exactly what your net worth should be right now. A 50-year-old earning $250,000 a year should theoretically have approximately $1.25 million. Anyone falling significantly below this mathematical threshold is actively spending their income to maintain an image rather than building lasting wealth. Unfortunately, most high earners fail this test dramatically today. According to the 2025 Schwab Modern Wealth Survey, everyday Americans believe you need $2.3 million just to be officially considered wealthy. Meanwhile, the actual median net worth of American households sits at approximately $193,000. Here is where the hedonic treadmill takes over. When you earn a massive salary of $400,000 but your total net worth is only $300,000, you simply don't feel wealthy. You feel like you are falling behind. Because the societal definition of enough is in a constant state of flux, no amount of money ever truly feels like it is enough. This leads directly into the debt reality. High-income households use credit very differently than lower-income households. Lower-income earners often use credit merely to survive. Higher-income earners use credit specifically to maintain an elevated lifestyle that leaves them with zero margin for error. The top 20% of earners actually hold a massive 35% of all total U.S. credit card debt. Bankrate revealed that 36% of credit card holders who earn $100,000 or more are actively carrying a balance from one month to the next. This is fueled by the fixed cost trap. A family earning $80,000 might spend $2,000 every month on housing. Meanwhile, a family earning $300,000 might be spending a staggering $8,000 a month on their luxury home. Both families have roughly the exact same percentage of their hard-earned income going straight toward shelter. The higher-income family just has much more expensive problems on their plate. Their budgets are bloated with heavy commitments like steep private school tuition, multiple expensive car payments, and country club memberships. These function as fixed costs. Downgrading the luxury family SUV feels like a humiliating public admission to the neighborhood that things are not going well financially. The national savings rate tells the uncensored story. The overall U.S. personal savings rate recently sat at a dismal 3.6%. Higher earners absolutely save slightly more in absolute dollars, but their actual savings percentages remain dangerously anemic. Imagine someone earning $300,000 who manages to save just 4%. They accumulate $12,000 annually. Relative to their massive income and bloated lifestyle costs, they are incredibly vulnerable to a sudden financial disruption. Compare this to true wealth accumulators who typically invest at least 15% of their total annual income long before they ever pay for basic necessities. They pay themselves first. Over 30 years, the stark difference between a 4% and a 15% savings rate is the difference between scraping by in retirement and building generational wealth. Social comparison violently accelerates this entire trap. Social media bombards us with everyone else's lavish vacations and luxury purchases in real time. A 2025 Goldman Sachs report explicitly pointed to keeping up with the Joneses as a primary driver of the paycheck-to-paycheck living phenomenon among high earners. People earning top 5% incomes feel financially inadequate purely because they are actively comparing themselves to the ultra-elite top 1%. Discretionary spending vanishes into thin air through convenience. Subscriptions, food delivery apps, ride shares, first-class flights, and luxury hotels quickly compound into a demanding lifestyle that requires absolutely every penny of a massive income just to maintain. Escaping this financial prison requires selective frugality. Actual millionaires spend their money on exactly what they value the most, and they cut expenses ruthlessly everywhere else. They ignore regional pressures that demand a $4.4 million net worth just to feel successful in a city like San Francisco. Historical research consistently shows that an impressive 79% of all millionaires are entirely self-made, and only 31% of them ever averaged an income of $100,000 or more annually over their careers. They built immense wealth on modest incomes by relying on consistent, disciplined behavior. A solid 73% of everyday millionaires have never carried a credit card balance. They simply invested their money quietly for 28 long years before ever crossing the $1 million threshold. Breaking free from the high-income poverty trap forcefully demands confronting a difficult question. What is all this relentless spending actually for? Think back to that stressed doctor making $380,000 in Chicago. She absolutely earns enough money to be financially free. She just unfortunately spends enough to guarantee that it never happens. Choosing a better path means finally accepting that the flashy BMW can easily be replaced by a reliable Honda. It means realizing that eating at expensive restaurants every single night serves modern convenience far more than it serves proper nutrition. It is not about self-deprivation. It is entirely about living with clear intention. Reversing this destructive pattern requires auditing every single recurring monthly expense and ruthlessly asking whether it genuinely still delivers value. The principle of automation is your way out, trying to save whatever money happens to be left over after you're done spending. Simply doesn't work. Instead, you must switch to spending whatever is left over after you are done saving. The mathematical reality is remarkably straightforward. If you earn $300,000 and save a healthy 30% of it, you automatically accumulate $90,000 annually. Assuming average market returns of 7% spread over 20 years, that initial discipline blossoms into a portfolio worth roughly $4 million. On the other hand, if you earn that exact same $300,000 but only manage to save a measly 5%, you accumulate just $15,000 annually. Over the same 20-year timeline, you will produce approximately $650,000. The staggering difference between those two distinct choices is a massive $3.35 million. That missing fortune is the ultimate true cost of falling victim to the high-income poverty trap. Optimizing for your current lifestyle simply maximizes your current consumption at the massive expense of your future freedom. Optimizing for true wealth means willingly accepting some reasonable current constraints in direct exchange for having boundless future options. Having a massive income alone clearly does not solve your financial problems. What you choose to intentionally do with your money is what always matters most.